YouTube, welcome back to my channel. So this video itself is quite controversial, and it's controversial in a sense that I feel as though some of my subscribers could possibly get directly offended by this. And I did post a video somewhere along the lines of this previously, and a lot of people got a bit upset. And what I wanted to clarify was that, of course, I'm not saying that people who have adopted children will have absolutely no maternal loving caring instinct to their children, because I do not believe that to be the case. There are many people in my family who have decided to adopt, and they have fabulous relationships and connections with their children. Adoption is definitely something that I possibly would like to explore one day, and it's definitely not something to be frowned upon, so I do not want you to get offended. What I'm trying to basically convey in this video is that Meghan and Harry, there's a big question mark over the origin of their children, whether their children are actually theirs or not, and how they have connected with these children. Now, a lady who hires a surrogate to carry her child, whether that child is biologically related to her or not, can have an extremely fulfilling connection to that child just as much as a lady who carries her child in her own stomach and to full term. 90% to, I would say 99% of the relationship you have, of course, with your children is, of course, based upon how much you care about them and raising them in a loving, connected way. It doesn't really differ much, be that child adopted or if that child is born via surrogate, in my eyes. And it's not really something that I really care about. But what I have noticed is that a lot of people, as you can see, I've done a recent poll on my channel, over 3,600 people have engaged with it. 81% of those who have engaged with it believe that the children are not their children. I was always, as I've said before, of the opinion that Lily and Archie definitely are biologically related to Harry and Meghan, but there's a big question mark, and there's a large group of people who believe that they are not biologically related to Harry and Meghan. They are indeed child actors, or at least they were birthed by a surrogate, which of course I'm not judging, but we know that in Meghan's case, she has lied and she has tried to basically say that she really did carry these children, even though there's a big question mark as to whether she actually did. I personally don't believe that she did carry them, and I'm not knocking women who do not want to go through with a full-term pregnancy on their own because of their careers, or because they lack the time, or because they just physically can't. I don't think that's something to judge, but there's something wrong with someone who is lying about whether they had a true pregnancy or not, or at least pretending to have a true pregnancy or not. Because in this day and age, no one really cares. As long as the child is well looked after and born into a loving home, that's all that really matters, in my personal opinion. But to get back to the point of this video, because I just wanted to clarify a few points, because of course I don't want people to feel as though I'm extremely judgmental and I'm saying that children who are adopted or children who are delivered by a surrogate don't stand a chance of finding love with their parents because they've come into the world via someone else's uterus, or they are not genetically related to you. That's definitely not what I'm trying to say. What the video is really about is that this online source, this online blog, has basically explored all the side effects of a child who essentially doesn't know their parents. And that's regardless of how they came into the world, whether their parents really are genetically related to them or not, whether they're adopted, whether they're by a surrogate, blah, blah, blah. This basically explores all of the characteristics of a child who has been raised by professional help, i.e. nannies. And I'm also not saying it's a bad thing to have childminders and to have nannies in the home, but there are a lot of downsides if that is the only person who's raising the child, because of course they're not going to wholly really know this child fully. So please don't get offended, because a lot of people use services of nannies, a lot of people use childminders, and when I become a mother, I'm not going to be a person who will not have a childminder or a nanny in the home. It's definitely something that I would explore if I felt as though I never had the time or enough time to cope with my children, or I wanted to have some more me time. It's not a bad thing. But if that's the sole interaction that the child is getting, of course, this throws up a lot of issues. And I directly know this because I have quite a few friends who I studied with who were raised by nannies, who often were quite resentful of the relationship I had with my parents, because I knew my parents and they had more time for me than their parents did. And that became quite an issue in our actual relationships. So let me summarize a little bit of why I think Archie and Lily basically are never seen at public events together. I think it's a case whereby Harry and Meghan have been so busy trying to take over the United States of America that they simply just don't know their children, so therefore they can't cope with two at once. And secondly being that when they are pictured outside with Archie, it seems as though he's not really giving them eye contact, and a lot of people have put that down to him looking for his real mum, i.e. he's a child actor, or him looking for the nanny. I personally feel as though it is due to him looking for the nanny. So this article is about effects of children who are solely raised by the nanny. And it starts with, the truth is the parents are likely indeed extremely occupied. Parents who solely rely on nannies simply are very, very busy. When it comes to being asked how they would describe their parents, all kids raised by nannies say the same thing. They are busy, busy, busy. While there's nothing wrong with this, it is somewhat of a concern if the child's first association to their parents is that they are constantly unavailable. Instead, we should strive for our kids to answer that we are funny, nice, or any other positive attribute. You know how kids usually ask their parents for help when they need it, or approval when they want something? Kids brought up by nannies tend to ask their nannies instead. Initially, there is nothing wrong with that. However, it becomes a cause for concern once the child starts asking the nanny rather than going to their parents. Kids who don't spend much time with their parents can have a hard time bonding with them. This often results with the kids being lonely and sad when they're spending time with their parents. So when parents who have a nanny notice that their child is uncomfortable around them, they should definitely make the extra effort to ensure the child feels loved, accepted, comfortable, and overall has some fun. Our jobs are very important, but having a good relationship with their child should definitely always be at the top of every parent's priority list. Having a nanny is completely acceptable, but the parent's relationship with their child should never be compromised because of it. It is surely hard to manage being a parent and having a job, which is why nannies come in hand. But parents should still, no matter what, make sure they spend enough time with their little loved ones. Kids raised by nannies rarely see their parents, and while the parents might think it won't affect the children badly, since they are still young and in good hands, they are wrong. A child still knows who their parents are, but they also know their parents are absent. Toddlers have feelings too, and they can definitely miss their parents, a feeling no parent on earth actually wants their child to experience. So I believe that this is just a miniature explanation as to why Archie always seems quite distracted when he's in the company of Harry and Meghan, and he always looks as though he's trying to look for his true caregiver. That was definitely displayed during the weekend in Jackson Hole. He looked extremely distracted, and he looked as though he was looking for his true caregiver. So to summarize this video without going on too long, I will be back with yet another one. Bye guys.